Say the pledge, please, to open the meeting.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll just open with a roll call and then get right to it.
Councilman Bowlby. Here. Councilman Hoyt. Here. Supervisor Goodman.
Here.
And Councilman Lewandowski and Councilwoman Dussain are both absent.
Okay. All right, so welcome to the public hearing for the 2024 budget. This is your time to let us know what you think about what we've crafted as a budget. So we'll just be hearing your comments from the floor tonight and not taking any action on the budget tonight, but just certainly digesting what you have to say and giving it some careful thought. Who'd like to start?
So I'll start.
Okay, Robert Loveday.
How many minutes do I have? 5? Or?
It's
Okay. Oh my gosh, I have an hour. Okay. So I would really like to see the supervisor secretary reinstated. That $10,000 put back in the budget for the following reasons. The confidential secretary to the supervisor is very common in many towns. 1. 2, having a confidential secretary will increase the super's efficiency and ability to concentrate on budgetary matters. That's a huge piece. And requests and suggestions from residents, along with many other fiscal and other matters. To look back at this position, I did a little research today and noted that supervisor secretaries are used in a couple of towns right around here. In Schodack, with 13,000 residents, and in Petersburg, with 1,500 residents. So the need is varied depending on the town size and the structure of the town government. There's another option that towns are allowed to introduce, and that is to use a deputy supervisor. That's a more of a management level position. And in Hoosick, with 6,800 residents, they have one. And also in Sand Lake and Rensselaerville. Rensselaerville has a deputy supervisor with 1,800 residents. So that's a very small town with a higher priced administrative level person compared to a supervisor secretary. Grafton has approximately 2,100 residents. So it's not uncommon to have this position. In addition, if anybody has ever worked in an organization where a secretary of some sort or an administrative assistant is let go, they know the ramifications. For instance, in Mohawk Papers, if all the secretaries were let go, it would be a free-for-all. Where I worked at Ellis Hospital, they let the secretary go in the cardiology department that I worked in for 22 years, and it was a big problem. And I had to decide whether I wanted to spend the time with my patients right there in front of me or answer the phone to make an appointment for somebody in 3 weeks. I chose the person in front of me every time. But it's a very common position, and I don't understand why it was let go. I really don't have any vested interest in this except to increase the efficiency of the town board and to have unity within the town board. I'll finish by saying something different about the secretary position as a way to fund it. Okay. The secretary could theoretically devote a certain percentage of her or his time to looking for grants. I don't write grants. I know little about grants, but just go with me for a minute. The two most common being a capital funding support grant and a problem a program support grant. Those are two of the most common grants used by towns of this size and larger. Why would the secretary use a certain percentage of her time to look for grants? Well, obviously to reduce costs to the town, to make improvements in the community, to maybe fund her position. So there are a lot of reasons why grant acquisition could be helpful to the town. Going further and ending, that person could also link up with a community member who has professional experience in writing grant applications. There may be somebody among us, 2,100 people, that has experience in grant writing. And maybe that person could do it on a volunteer basis, which is also possible in this town, to use volunteers. It's not illegal. And that person could assist the confidential secretary in this portion of her job. The website that she or he would go to is simply grants.gov. Thank you.
I appreciate the research you did on that. I just want to clarify one point. Petersburg website is out of date, and I've actually brought that to Supervisor Murray's attention. She didn't realize it was still listed.
I see.
That they had a secretary, but she opted to conduct her supervisorship without a secretary.
Okay,
So
thank you.
But thanks for the research on that, definitely.
Yes.
All right, who else?
I just wanted to bring some points up about the library. For the last budget workshop, a couple of questions were asked about funding for the library and for volunteers. So I just wanted to kind of give a little history of the town's support for the library. So we're figuring back in the 80s, the library petitioned to become New York State certified and to become a member of the Hudson Library System, which is all the libraries in Albany and Rensselaer County. New York State certification requires specific standards be in place, such as the number of hours the library is open, staff training, and health and safety concerns, as in if you have public bathrooms, fire extinguishers, things like that. So at that time, the library board came to the town board and asked for financial support to support the library and to support the certification. And they were granted a charter in the late 80s and then a final charter in 1993. And they've been getting town's financial support ever since. The library does do two major fundraisers a year. One is our annual fund drive and the other is the Run for Roses. And those fund drives, those two fundraisers, raise about $12,000. Then the other question that was presented at the workshop was, what do we have for volunteers? So we have Ed Raddick, who mows the lawn 100% all year long at no charge. Sandy Von Schilligan, who does the program announcements as well as a co-coordinator of the Run for Roses. Joan Looney, who helps with mailings and any other routine kind of, not secretarial, but like if folks need to get cleaned off stuff. She's 85, so she sits at the table. So if there's books that need to get wiped down, stuff like that. Tanner Billett comes in every week for 2 hours, and he puts books away and scans books. And then our whole library board of trustees are volunteers, and they work on every function, pretty much every program, meet once a month. So it's definitely a working board.
Thank you, Leanna. Who else? Yes, Chuck Douglas.
Yeah, so just a quick thing on, I noticed looking across the budget, just a general comment on salary increases. Obviously, you have a lot of different positions across the board that work a lot of different hours, and some are at different levels that are, we're $1,000. I'll just take one for an example, like, the justices or the court clerk, for example. $1,000 on that salary is going to mean a lot more percentage-wise than it does on other salaries that are larger. So just one general thought was, looking across the board at percentages and raises, I know you tend to stick to, when you're doing the budgeting process, even $1,000 raises, but in that case, it's 12.5% for this person, 13.3 for this one, and most of the other ones are around 3%. So just a comment would be that for the people that you want to give salary increases to, it would seem more sensible to actually pick a percentage that you want to give across the board to the people you're giving raises to, so you have equity across the town. So just want to comment there, because obviously it comes off differently, much differently. It varies anywhere from 3% to 12 or to 13.3 as it stands. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Chuck. Great. Who else? Ann Calabro?
I had a couple things. I'm going to go along with what Rob had to say about needing the secretary given back to the supervisor's position. The hours in town hall, even though Vicky's here, she isn't here enough. I've had people call me and say, when are they open? Well, you can look it up on the website. Well, I can't ever get a hold of anybody. If you have a secretary here, they can get a hold of somebody. And it makes the supervisor's job just a little bit easier. So, and then I'm going to go along with what Chuck said, that the raises are out of proportion. To have an elected official get a 12 or 13% raise, and people who work every day, I mean, the judges aren't here every day. They're just not. They're here, what, once a week, maybe? Every other week? I don't know what their schedule is. But to have them get a huge jump and to get the regular people nothing or very little, you guys don't get a raise, and you're elected. So why do the judges get it and you don't? And why do they get so much and the regular workers don't? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's all I have for right now.
Okay, thank you. Who else? Okay, Kathy Swiller.
Just want to understand why, as far as the positions go, I understand the assessor's office needing an assistant or a secretary, but why the planning board, but yet someone of the highest position is denied a secretary? I don't understand that. So what is the reasoning why a planning board needs a secretary?
To take minutes at their meetings, at their monthly meetings. So that is a function of, they've always had one. The planning board over the years has always had one. So it's basically to take minutes of what
Hasn't the
goes on.
supervisor always had a secretary?
For years and years and years they did, yeah. Previous supervisors had them as well, so, yeah. I feel like you guys want me to have a secretary.
For the planning board, yeah. The secretary doesn't actually give the minutes to Vicky. Tom does. So why does he have a secretary if she isn't the one that takes care of it?
I'm not sure how the inner workings of the planning board are. I don't know.
I don't know.
Gentlemen. Okay.
How many people are on the planning board?
Five.
So of 5 people on the planning board, someone can't take minutes. They have to be paid to take minutes. But yet you're going to deny the office of the superintendent to not have a secretary?
That's actually, yeah. Well, Jared lost the support staff as well. It's supervisor, but superintendent. Jared, the position supported the highway superintendent.
Well, it seems
as
to me
well.
the planning board can manage of 5 people to do their own minutes and such.
Donna, I saw a hand with.
Yeah, I would just like to propose that the town reconsider the cut that was made to the recreation committee. We've had 3 extremely successful events. in the 4 or 5 short months that we've been formed as a committee. Our intention is to continue that momentum and supply as many events for all ages, as long as they're well received. And, you know, we operate 12 months out of the year, where another group only operates, I believe, from April through December, and their budget wasn't cut. So I really would like for you folks to reconsider that cut to the recreation committee, please. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, anyone else tonight? Yes, Kathy Swoboda again.
Okay, again, the question is, why does a committee who only serves a small portion of the community get a higher budget than a committee that serves all of the community for all the time? And I know that there was problems as far as the trunk or treat, and out-of-towners, maybe they're gonna come to it, but I would like to know for the other group, is it strictly for people from Grafton? Or do out-of-towners go on these bus trips as well? Do out-of-towners pay the same fee as the people in Grafton? Because it seems like it's just unfair that a group that serves everyone is going to get less money than a group where basically taxpayers are funding their bus trips to go and have a good time.
Okay, so concern being they serve just a set part of the population and not the entire.
Well, but the other group, is there an age limit? It's not a group that's open to everyone of every age, is it?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, I'm just trying to understand.
Yep.
Okay, fair point. Mr. Loveday.
I just want to mention that I know that Councilman Lewandowski is concerned with, with costs and the budget and being fiscally conservative. And I can understand that in a town this size. This is a very small town. You don't have a lot of wiggle room with your budget. I can completely understand that. A town like Colony, Albany, larger ones, they have more wiggle room. So that being said, maybe it's a good idea to look at other ways to find money. And the one I came up with is grants. It's tedious to find them. It's confusing. But it's worth looking outside the box for more funding for the town in very small, gentle ways that don't polarize the residents, right? I mean, that's important, that we don't look for like a Walmart to come over there and that just completely rips the town apart, right? I'm talking about things that are gentle, and if we think outside the box, we can probably squeeze a few $1,000s here and there, and that would do things like allow the Recreation Committee or allow a secretary or other low-cost items to come to fruition and give the town greater benefit than their cost. Thank you.
Who else tonight?
I have a question. One is, why did the ambulance go from 26,000 to 30,000? It was proposed to go to 24, and now it's up to 30. It's on the third page.
We added that back in for power bills, that's what Frank was saying. Remember, the proportion of the expenses?
How much is their power bill? That's a big change.
What was the
Question I just asked you about the
Okay, let's check into that. Yeah, we did.
because we're adding.
We can do the electric and
I have
it's
one more.
utilities, yeah, it's all, it's not just power, it's all their share of the utilities.
Okay.
But we can take a look at that.
Okay, and then the other thing was, you have the other senior group, the Everett Wager group. Someone didn't want the group to go on trips. But if they're having trips available and pulling people in from other areas because of the trips, then it seems like that would be, why are you saying you can't go on a trip? Because you let the merrymakers go on their trips. There should be no reason to put that kind of a restriction.
Okay. So just want to see.
It's 2,500 and 4,376.
I don't actually understand why the private group of the merrymakers gets funded by the town, because it's a private group and it's only a small group of people that go.
I'd have to take a look at that. What did, for programs for the aging, is that where we added in the,
Yes,
what we were requested from
from,
Alan Petrie?
yes, 2,500 is her request and 4,376 for merrymakers,
Okay, take a look at
I
that.
believe.
So between aging and celebrations, short some numbers. Okay. All right. What else? Yep. Hi, Nancy.
I just want to bring up, like Donna was talking about with the Recreation Committee. When I was on it prior to the group that we have now, we were spending big time money, like $1,200 for a male singer, $1,800 for the carpenter, person that played Karen Carpenter. Then when that group resigned and we got other people in, it was brand new to most of them, okay? And I'll be honest with you, when I was on with them, I knew nothing about anything that they were doing, how they did it, or whatever, okay? So we're learning, all of us, even though I had been on the group. All I did was cook for them. So I'm sitting here saying, we can pay $1,800 for someone, we could pay $800 for the band that plays at Christmas time, and you cut us down because we haven't spent that much. We've been very good about keeping the money down so we could do more. But it seems to me, you know, we get cut because we haven't spent the money, and because Kathy and Linda sat here saying that we didn't need the money. Same thing with the other senior group, and they're not involved in either one of them. So we are trying different things with the Recreation Committee, because when we did have pay $1,800, $1,200, $800, we got 20, 25 people. So why are we spending that much? Figure it out. If you take $1,800 and divide it, say 30 people. I'll give it a little bit of a leeway. 30 people divided by $1,800. How much did that cost the town to give entertainment to those people? We had the trunk and treat, which I know that the youth group normally did, but we had adult stuff with it, and it didn't even cost us a quarter of it.
Well, 450 people.
And
Correct.
same thing with the, we've gone out, we've gone above and beyond to try to get donations, so forth, because that's what we should do. But if that's gonna take away from our budget, then we might as well just sit there and say, no, we're not gonna get any donations, we're not gonna ask anybody for anything, because when you do, you get cut. When you don't, you get what you want. And I don't think that's fair. We're talking the whole town. And the things that we have done, not to brag, but the people in the town said they wish they had more going on in our community. We should do more for our community. But at the same time, we have a board member that says, only do it 4 times a year. You're not going to get all 2,100 people from the town to go to everything. Okay, but even if we can just get enough and get it out there, I think that it's gonna make a difference for the town people. The community loved it up in the state park with the trunk and treat because they didn't have to worry about their kids. They could, the kids were running around, they were having a ball, So, I also agree that the secretary should come back to the supervisor. Again, there's a situation where the planning board, the assessor, they have clerks. Ingrid's job is only part-time, the supervisor's job is only part-time. Vicky's only part-time. We had a lot of phone calls before when the secretary was taking the call, and we didn't have to worry for the town board to sit here and take phone calls like it's been happening this year. So, why should we have the board members there? To show that we don't need a secretary? That's crazy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
And also one thing more, isn't there what's the account that we have the excess money?
General fund.
The general fund. Aren't we way over in that general fund?
We have a healthy fund balance, for
Okay,
sure.
because we keep, the board has been cutting and cutting and cutting. Oh, we gotta lower the taxes, but what is it worth if they're taking things away from the public? That's kind of crazy when we have the money. I'm not saying raise the taxes for it, but we have the money we could take out and still not raise taxes because there was money in our budget last year that they just totally decided to get rid of for whatever reason.
I concur. I think, I don't know why 2 of the council people aren't here, but I think the council actually works for the citizens. You're employed by us, essentially. So you have then an obligation to hear what your constituents are saying. You have an obligation because you have a position. And if it's a medical emergency that they're not here, that's one thing. But if it's not, that's not very kind to the townspeople who you are being hired to look after. Because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make the town better in whatever way you can. And we're asking. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and it has to be that way. And it's not tonight. And I don't appreciate that. I would like to talk to everyone on the board, and it's not happening. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to say one board member is medical.
Okay.
Another board member has traveled out of town.
Okay, thank you for
It's been planned for a long time.
yeah,
So,
very good. Thank you.
Plus, we have the board meeting coming up, and again, you're welcome to come in and bring those concerns to the board.
Thank you.
There's something interesting in the people that do the ethics. In their contract, they say if someone doesn't come for I believe it's half the meetings, that they lose their position. How many times have people not come to these meetings?
I'm not familiar with that in the ethics law. There's a part of the ethics law that says, I'm
Uh-huh.
not familiar with that at all.
It's for the people on the ethics board.
So it's their guidelines? so
It's
not
their
the committee
guidelines,
themselves.
but
Okay.
why should, you guys get paid to be here. If you're not gonna be here for 4 times, 5 times out of the year, why are you getting all your money?
Yeah, okay.
We're not just paid just to be here. We do other things too.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
throughout
may
the
be,
year.
but, so are you gonna break it down by percentage?
Do you want it broken down by percentage?
Well, you know, if you're getting paid to be here, you should be here. It's your job.
Anyone else?
I got one more thing.
Yes?
I'm just thought of, so just a general comment that, because I like this forum. I mean, obviously, as we're saying, I wish every board member could be here, there's reasons. But, just to hear what the public's saying. But I like the forum that we have here and how we're all bringing up ideas and able to do that. I will say though, at the budget workshop that we had, my understanding is the public is not allowed to speak, and I would say that meeting was dragged on for about an extra half hour at least by the public speaking, so I'd like to see in the future that we do something about that. Cut that right off, because this is the forum to be speaking, and I very much appreciate having this forum. But when I watched poor Leanna, I'm literally grilled over her budget from public members at the last budget workshop. I really thought that was ridiculous. So it's something that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't have any say. That's the whole point of this forum. We have this forum for that reason. If we need multiple meetings for this forum, that's great. That just means the public cares more, and they want to bring their ideas to help improve the town and the budget.
I have to say, in my 8 years as supervisor, this is the most robust budget public hearing we've ever had. Sometimes there's nobody here, so thank you all for taking the comment. Literally, there's nobody here. So it's definitely good and refreshing to hear from the community in an organized forum. And
I
I-
wanted to say one thing about the town secretary, supervisor, superintendent secretary, and supervisor secretary. If that could be like a combined thing, so many hours are for you, so many hours are for Jared, so many hours are physically here at the town hall.
That's how we had it.
It was.
That's how it was always, it was working that way.
It
We set
was.
hours and, I mean, you're right, you're completely right. I'm just agreeing with you because that's
Because I'm just
how it
saying,
worked.
in the gist of the conversation, they're saying supervisor secretary,
Right.
but it's really three secretaries.
Right, that's the
One
title of the
position doing
position.
3 jobs.
Subtitles, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's important to have.
I agree. I was on the receiving end of not having support staff, and yeah, I agree, support staff is absolutely, it's important to have, important to have for a number of reasons. And I think Jared and I, we figured it out, but you missed the support staff as well,
Yeah, that she did a great job.
So. Okay, anything else tonight? Yes, Nancy
Yeah,
Laura.
just talking about support staff. Seems like we really need a maintenance person. Like today again, there was a gas smell, and it shouldn't be the board members that have to do that. We should have somebody that has the experience. And I think that we should somehow put money in the budget to get a maintenance person. Like Donna has said in the past, we're renting out places. We have to have people that can fix stuff when it breaks down. And that's not what our board members get paid to do. I mean, I appreciate what they do, but sometimes if they can't get a hold of you, you gotta call 4 or 5 people to try to get a hold of somebody. And the other thing I get concerned about, especially when you're playing with electrical stuff, if there was ever a fire, will our insurance cover it because one of the board members did whatever, even though they were trying to help? I'm just concerned of the liability on the other end.
Anyone else? Okay, all right. Sure.
So we're going into the new year, and we still do not have a youth director. So we will make a big effort going into the next couple of months looking for a youth director who can really run a program for us. And so that goes out to all of you. If you know somebody or can think of anybody who could help us out, it could be a part-time job, full-time job, but speaking of grants, we will lose some money that we traditionally get, and we can't get now without someone running a youth program.
Did you get the email about the lady who has reached out to us?
Oh, good, no.
That I've sent out multiple emails to you guys in the last
Yeah.
couple days.
Yeah, I will definitely talk to them. But that's for everybody now, so we can really do some help on that.
Okay. Anything you'd like to say, Steve? Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Second?
Second.
Oh, seconded by. Perfect. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And again, thank you. Really.
Thank you.
For